Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. What a crowd. You guys really packed the house. How do you like being in Florida?
I will. I was trying to get a
Have
picture
you heard of the
him.
governor here? His name is Ron DeSantis.
Woo!
Very good. Hey, thank you. Grab a seat. We got a. Oh, well, I love you too. Thank you.
But I
You know,
had
just
asked you to
talking
grab the ball,
backstage,
but
and
that's
I
not.
was telling the event organizer how I never get out of my house. Like everything I do out of my house. So I go from 0 to 1,000 like that. Like, I was just sitting in my studio doing Fox and Friends with my wife. We get in a car, and then I get out in front of 1,800 excited people, and it's like the RPM meter is like 0, boom, red line, peg, like I blew the transmission, and I haven't even started speaking yet. Thank you all for coming out. Listen, this is a great crowd, and it's good to see that there's some energy given the sadly apocalyptic situation we find ourselves in this great country many of you here fought for, literally, and many of you still fight for, whether it's running or being an activist or showing up yourself. I mean, I know like many of you, you're probably sitting at home watching the TV going, how the hell did we get here, man?
Right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I do. I was on Fox and Friends this morning, and I said, how much more of this crap can we take? I mean, this guy's a forest fire. The Pino, the president name only. This rotting bag of bones in the White House. I mean, was this guy like, right? The guy's been in office, what, 9 months or 10? I mean, did he read like a 12-step program? Let me see. How to destroy America in 12 steps. This guy's at step like 11.6 already, and he's only been in office 9 months. You're like, my gosh, how the hell did we get here with this guy? I mean, he is so unbelievably incompetent. And I was, right? I mean, gosh, you know who right now is seriously saying his prayers and like, thank God for this guy? Barack Obama. Obama's like, man, I thought I could screw up the country in 8 years. This guy just thinks, let's go, Brandon. That's right. Let's go, Brandon. Obama looks like a loser compared to this guy. I mean, it took Obama 8 years to screw the place up. It only took this guy 8 months. I mean, Obama's like, damn, I'm jealous. How do I become more like Joe Biden? I mean, seriously, he picked the guy, right? Because he thought he wouldn't run for president. That's why he picked him. Because he didn't want someone, to interfere with his agenda and be a big, seeking the glory. So he picked Joe Biden. And look what happened. Joe Biden overshadows him as the worst president in U.S. history in only 8 months. An impressive feat. Impressive. So, sometimes I see these polls. I was going to give I haven't even gotten to it yet, I'm sorry. Because I'm just so annoyed at everything. I mean, I see these polls, right? And you're like, Joe Biden with 38% approval. I'm like, who are these 38 out of 108? Who are these people? Right? I'm not crazy, right? Who are the 38 out of 100? Like, I was just in New York City. I spent the whole week up there on the 5 arguing with liberals on the panel, which was fun. You gotta sharpen your skills in person once in a while. And even walking around New York, I'm not kidding. Granted, it's probably a skewed sample size. People who talk to me know who I am. I'm like, yeah, how do you feel about Biden? Man, that guy sucks. I mean, this is New York City. You can't even find anyone there who likes this guy. He is so incredibly bad. He set a new standard. So this morning, right, I'm doing Fox and Friends, and I just like to think of stuff on the air because I got ADHD. I can't ever plan stuff out. I don't like writing notes on my hands. These speeches are all out of my melon. There's just a lot of stuff in there. It's got to come out somehow. So the same thing happens on TV and on my podcast, even on my Fox show. It's called Unfiltered for a reason. Thank you. I hope you like it. my head. If you only saw a screenshot of my teleprompter, it's like, just let Dan talk. Like, that's it. There's nothing in there. The whole show says ad lib because I just have like this, I gotta let all this stuff out. So I'm on Fox and Friends this morning, and the two topics, they tell you in advance, like, here's what we want to talk about. So you can, whatever, do some homework. But for me, I just do it, and I just go on and just rock and roll with it. And I get on the air, and they wanted to talk about Obama on the economy and immigration. And the first thing that came to mind on the air, I was talking to Rachel, I'm like, you know what's really crazy about these leftists? Like, their whole MO, right? Their whole MO, not us, like, we believe in individual liberty, family, freedom, local communities, and a limited federal government. Military, court system, maybe some post roads, crazy things like the Constitution. That's right. I mean, I'm serious. If we could only get back to that, things would be a-okay. But that's not leftists, right? Leftists have this crazy, bizarre idea that 100 people around a boardroom table in Washington, D.C. somehow know more about your life than you do. And us in the room were like, how the hell is that? Like, my own kids don't know everything about me. Like, how does some idiot in D.C. know? Like, we complain about government all the time, right? We go to the DMV, we're like, oh my gosh, I'm online all day. You go to these quasi-government entities like the post office, and you're like, man, I could run this thing better, right? And then leftists are like, yeah, the DMV, post office, they kind of suck, but I definitely want you to be in charge of my healthcare and crack open my chest when I'm about to die. And you're like, what is in that pipe you're smoking, man? That's not tobacco. That's like the wacky tobacco. Whatever you're smoking, stop. Those gummies, those aren't gummy bears. Those are Colorado gummy bears. So I said on Fox this morning, so I said, their ethos, right? Their credo, what they live by, is that government can do everything you can do better, right? Run the economy, manage your health care, run national security in the border, run a court system. Everything they can do better. And I said, it's odd having that worldview considering that these guys suck at everything. Like, they can't get anything right. I said, don't you find it weird that the level of incompetence for these people is stunning? I mean, if Joe Biden has given everyone in this room one gift, you're like, what? No, seriously, if he's given us one gift, is he's fully exposed the fact that the federal government cannot do a damn thing right. There is nothing. Zero. Nothing. They can't do anything. I mean, let's just go through a few of the issues, right? The Pino, like, or the president name only. This guy didn't even know his name on any given day, and he's supposed to handle the nuclear codes. It's like hilarious. You're like, really? This guy? Come on. So the economy, right? I'm thinking of this the other day. So you're sitting in D.C., right? You're the smart people. They think you're the idiots, which is really hilarious too, because we look at them, we're like, so you think we're the morons? A couple hundred of you got together at a table in D.C. and said, I got an idea for the economy, check this out. Let's pay a lot of people not to work. And then let's print a lot of money to pay them. And then while we're at it, let's pay them to go buy stuff not being made because the stuff isn't being made because we paid the people not to make the stuff. And then when the stuff not getting made gets expensive because the only stuff that was made before we paid the stuff, people not to make the stuff, gets expensive because there's not a lot of stuff. Let's pay people more money to produce less stuff and go out and buy the stuff that doesn't exist. And it's like an infomercial. Wait, there's more. And then our major ports are in California, in a communist state. Let's enact a bunch of environmental regulations as the economy's trying to open up so truckers can't unload the little bit of stuff made overseas because nobody's working here to make stuff. And a bunch of idiots in DC were like, that's a freaking great idea. That's a great idea. And they think we're the idiots. I'm sorry, you should never laugh at your own jokes, but they're not my jokes. They're Washington, D.C.'s jokes. And the jokes is on us. These are, I swear, they tell you, like, oh no, government, man, it is such a force for good and knowledge in your lives. And you're like, you morons thought this was a good idea? Paying people to not produce anything? And then they sit around and they're like, and inflation's happening. Why is that? Because there's nothing to buy, you idiots. You got 1,000 people chasing a used Ford Pinto from 1981. Why is it so expensive? I don't know. Let me Google it. You know, I'm not listen, I'm obviously not a comedian. I leave that to Gutfeld. But the only reason this stuff is funny, right, is because there's an element of truth. Like, that's the only reason it's funny. All humor is bedrocked in at least one element of small truth, right? You laugh because it's so true. Like, how did 435, right, of the dumbest people on planet Earth all get elected to Congress and the Senate at the same time? How, right? Where
Fraud.
I keep saying right, like looking for affirmation, like you don't know this. So it's not just, sadly, it's not just the economy, right? Look at these other things. So you get these same idiots in DC, right? Again, they think we're the morons. And they say, I've got a better idea. So Trump had this border thing on lockdown. Perfect. Was it perfect? No, but was it good? It was darn good.
Yes.
And again, they think he's the idiot, which is like, he's got to be sitting there right now, right? Trump's got to be thinking, my gosh, like, look at these morons. I wouldn't hire these guys on a dumpster contract in my buildings in New York, and these idiots are running the country, right? So they get in office, and they're like, okay, the southern border, what do we do down there? So we're getting about 30 to 60,000 contacts a month under Trump. Okay, someone in DC goes, how do we dissolve the southern border and get that up to 200,000 and maybe 1 million as soon as possible? Yeah. I've got an idea. Let's get rid of Remain in Mexico. Let's tell everyone, hey, you want to come in the country legally or illegally? Don't worry, we'll let you in, and we'll give you like a hall pass, and you get to go see an immigration officer in 2072 when the courts clear up. And someone in the room was like, yeah, that'll definitely clean up the border situation down south. What's in that cigarette, bro? What is in that? Is that water in that glass? Or is that Don Julio 1942? What is in that? Is that tequila? It's the only tequila I like. But I don't drink it before I go and try to make policy, right? And then, on the border, I can't take it. This is Saturday, I can't. I worked 6 days this week. And then someone says, so Trump was in office, he had everyone remain in Mexico, and it worked because the goal from people is not to claim asylum. If they did, they'd claim it in Mexico if they're from South America, and they don't. They want to come here because it's a great country. I don't blame them. I'd want to come here too, but we have a process, right? I mean, we have a process. Everything has a process. You want to come here, you follow the process, right? It's not hard. It's not hard. My wife, I love when liberals, by the way, try to lecture me on immigration. Like, you don't know anything about immigration. I'm like, really? My wife was an immigrant. We went through the process. And then they turn into calling you a racist or something. That's all they have. Whenever they lose an argument, you know, it's always, like, that's the last refuge of the moron. Anything with an ist or a phobe at the end. You're a misogynist, a transphobic, homophobic, istophobic, phobophobic. And you're like, dude, I've heard it all. Thanks. Wait, I've heard every one of them. So then someone says, so Trump's building this border wall, very sophisticated camera system. Was it perfect? No. No wall is ever going to be perfect. Yes, people can tunnel under and people can climb over. But the whole purpose is to make them tunnel under and climb over. Like, liberals, you tell them that, they're like, huh? They don't get it. Like, here, walk in. Here, don't walk in. You have to jump over. Like, I have bad knees. Could I get over this? I could, but it would be a real pain in the ass. That's where I go this way. Look, watch, liberals. Check this out. It's magic. I don't want to jump over the thing. Probably, listen, looking at most of you, roughly my age, you probably don't want to jump over it either. Will a couple of you have Carl Lewis-like hurdling skills? Yes. But that's probably 2-3% of you. Liberals are like, huh? Like they can't figure this crap out. So someone said, hey, I got a great idea. We're paying $5 million a day. I didn't realize my wife's there in the front row. I totally missed it. Hey, how you doing? Wait for her. Say hi. Stand up. Wait for you. She never. Don't laugh. Don't even laugh because I'm not like a weirdo. I was just like, who is that hottie in the front row? And I swear it was. I'm not even messing with you. I'm like, damn, that's a good-looking woman right there, it's Paula. The lights, I see you different than you see me. So we're paying $5 million a day in guaranteed contracts to build a wall. Do you know this is not a joke. We are paying $5 million a day now to not build a wall. Did you see that on Fox this week? You did, you're shaking your head. I sat there and I'm like, huh? This is like only with these idiots in charge does this make sense? They had the former border chief, Rodney Scott on Fox. The interview with Brett Baer was amazing. He's like, yeah, no, we have this camera system. We have this metal border wall rotting in the desert because these idiots can't possibly figure this out, that we need to build a border wall. I think you all know the answer too.
Right.
We're laughing about it, but you all know they're not stupid, right? This is on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not. Listen, we're kind of, we mess around and stuff because you have to laugh or you'll cry at these idiots all the time. Mm-hmm. But the hard reality is this. Everyone in this room knows that I think Joe Biden is definitely a dumb person. But the people around him are not. He is. He's just dumb. He's just not a smart guy. But the people around him are not stupid. This is all intentional. How is it not? Explain to me with a straight face how what I just told you about the economy, inflation, and the border, how a sane person would say, yes, this is good for a prosperous country. You can't. There's not a single soul in this room who can explain to me why that would make sense if this was not deliberate and intentional. Then I think about other things too. Again, my premise, I was told once in politics, if you ever want to run for office, this is a great thing to remember. Don't ever forget this. A really smart guy came up to me after a speech one time, and he said, don't ever make an assertion in politics. Always ask a question to start a speech. Because a question, the mind can't avoid a question. It can't. You want to answer it even if you don't like it. But an assertion, liberals, they're vaccinated to facts. It doesn't matter what you tell them. Like it bounces off their head like a Wolverine adamantium-coated skull or something. But when you ask a question, the mind gets sparked, You can't stop. That's why debates work so well, right? So again, regarding my question this morning that I asked on Fox, how is it that these people who believe in big government solving all our problems are so uniquely bad at this?
Right.
How? How are they so terrible? So I thought of another thing this morning. The elections. How is it that they can't how hard is it to vote? It's like, here's Trump. I see you got the Trump. That's why you already got the Trump one back. That's why I thought it. See, here's my wallet. Got a few beans in there. You open up, I got an ID. You show up, you go, hey, I'm Dan Bongino. Well, how do I know you're Dan Bongino? Because I have a driver's license that says Dan Bongino with a picture with a dude who looks exactly like me. And thankfully, there aren't two people on planet Earth who look like this. So you show up, hey, this is me? Oh, okay, wow, that looks like you, great. They take it down so another Dan Bongino doesn't come in to vote, and we all vote, and we can count on the results. Like, is this hard?
Yes.
Anyone in the room want to raise their hand? Is this difficult? So, of course it's not. So I covered on my podcast this week, I covered this, did you see these hearings up on Capitol Hill about that audit in Arizona?
Oh, yeah.
Watch my podcast from yesterday. I'm not like plugging the show. I'm just telling you. Just watch, fast forward to Andy Biggs, who's a great congressman, up on Capitol Hill, asking these idiots in Maricopa about what they did. This is an actual exchange, not verbatim, but I promise you, I'm not exaggerating for effect. Andy Biggs, who's a really good Republican congressman out of Arizona, he's asking these Maricopa County auditors the State Board of Elections officials. They're like, hey, do you have the data from the 2020 election? They're like, no, we deleted it. So he's like, oh, okay, well, why'd you delete it? The guy goes, well, we archived it. He goes, okay, well, when we subpoenaed you for the election data, why didn't you turn over what's in the archive after you deleted it? The guy's like, X-lax moment, guy needs like his diapers. He doesn't really have an answer, right? So then Biggs comes back and says, well, again, proving my point again, how are these idiots, right? How can they possibly screw this up anymore? Andy Biggs says to the guy, well, why did you delete the data? You want to hear the dude's answer? The guy goes, yeah, we needed some server space. I'm sitting there like, what? We have server space. Like he's never heard of the cloud or anything. Dude, we have on our podcast probably 20,000 hours of video. You know what you do? You just buy it. It wasn't even expensive. You get so Biggs is like, so you needed server space? And the guy's like unsure of his answer. You can tell he's like, man, that sounded dumb. So then Biggs says to him next, Andy Biggs goes, hey, well, have you deleted any information from any prior elections? The guy's like, I don't think so. I can't really attest to that. So, how are these people so bad at this? So Andy Biggs,
Oh my God.
he's like, so the server issue, like it just came up now? Despite the fact that computing power like doubles every 10 years? You guys just figured out in 2020 you had a server space issue? Like, and then they wonder why people are out there like, hey man, I'm not really digging that whole 2020 election. We're all crazy. They think you're all nuts for asking questions. Every one of you. Meanwhile, Hillary still thinks Vladimir Putin, lost her the 2016 election, and there are liberals here, not an issue, but I assure you, even in Florida, who still think Gore won Florida in 2000. They still, I swear to you, ask them. So just to be clear, you deleted a bunch of data. We had mass mail-in voting for the first time in human history due to the plague. Pennsylvania and other states changed the laws at the last minute, completely violating the Constitution. It was done through the judicial branch. Arizona can't even figure out why they deleted a bunch of data because they've never heard of the cloud or anything like that. That's crazy. You all are nuts for asking that question. But to be clear, Hillary's perfectly sane for thinking there's a pee-pee tape with Donald Trump somewhere in Russia that no one's seen. Nobody. We know what Donald Trump had for dinner 3 years ago because the media was all over this guy. But there's a pee-pee tape out there. It's out there, folks, and someone's hiding it. Because everybody loves Donald Trump. But that's not crazy. Gore won Florida. Hillary's got the pee-pee tape. All of this stuff is sane, and we're the nut jobs. And you wonder, right? Seriously, do you ever wake up in the morning like I do? Listen, I love the Lord Jesus Christ. He's my Savior. I surrendered a long time ago. He has changed my life when I did. But I'm not kidding when I say this. Like, I thank Him in the morning. I'm like, thank you for not making me a liberal. Like, I can't, right? But living in this vacuum and vortex of stupid, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine waking up really believing that this guy in charge in the White House is going to fix problems I can't fix myself. So your whole worldview is like, I'm so dumb, I can't fix my own business and my kids' education, but definitely Joe Biden's going to handle it. 100%. Joe Biden and Hunter, when he's not doing sex tapes, like, they'll figure it out. Hunter Biden, when he's not blowing art out of his nose or whatever he's doing now. He blows his art out of a straw. I'm like, I've never heard of this in my life. The guy blow art out of a, like, with this guy that takes on a new meaning. Like, it's a family-friendly crowd, so you gotta be careful. But blowhole art, like, what is this guy, like a dolphin? I'm like, he just got So, I can't believe I'm running out of time. Hey, this guy, you believe I've been talking for 20 minutes? Crazy.
25.
I still don't think I've taken a breath. So, this guy just got $75,000 a piece. Again, you're like, how are these people so uniquely stupid? I mean, I don't even think a Bob Ross painting sells for $75,000. The Pretty Little Trees guy, and he's not even alive. Poor Bob Ross died. He's not even here. He can't make anymore. But Blowhole guy is getting $75,000. And right, and you wake up and you're like, holy Moses, thank God I'm not a liberal. Thank you, Lord. Seriously, how do we fall for these idiots, right? And proving my point. Listen, I was an agent for Bush and Obama and even Clinton. I got nothing personal against it. This is political to me. I want to save my country. I dislike them, but I'm not a Bush guy either. But proving my point, like George Bush is a painter too. The guy'd be lucky to probably get like 10 grand. You know why? Republicans, we're not sycophantic golden calf worshippers. We're like, oh my God, George Bush painted it, $100,000. But give me Blowhole guy for $75,000. That's how dumb these people are. This guy's never, he got that off a paint by numbers thing, and you idiots paid $75,000? You don't think in history someone's gonna look back and go, imagine this, right? I'm sorry, I had 3 minutes, but I'll be here all day, right? So, you got this guy. You got this guy, right? Some rich Democrat, probably a tech executive or whatever in Silicon Valley, right? And he buys one of the Blowhole paintings for $75,000. Now he's a grandfather, whatever, in 50 years. And the grandkids come up to him, and Biden's just a relic of history at that point. And he's like, hey, look at this painting on the wall, grandkid. Oh, hey, grandpop, would you buy that from? I got it from Hunter Biden. And at that point, the kid's gonna have a telechip to access the internet and his melon right away. And he's gonna pull up Hunter Biden and go, is that the sex tape guy? Like, you bought a painting for $75,000? From the sex tape guy? Like, granddad, you must be a liberal. What's in that water? What's in that pipe? Is it the water and the pipe? Is it the wacky tobacco and the tequila? Like, what the hell's in there, granddad? Your liver, may not be able to handle that stuff at this age. All right, enough about Blowhole guy. All right, I got 2 minutes left. So, on a very serious note, I deeply appreciate the reception coming in. It's an honor. I don't get to see people often, so it does warm my heart. I say it because I've been through a lot in the last couple of years, and it's not a sob story. God gives us our obstacles for a reason. You should actually relish them because they can change your life if you look at them the right way. And a lot of bad stuff kind of happened to us, health-wise and everything like that. And I don't tell you that as some kind of a boo-hoo sob story. I mean it. It was a gift because it enabled me to see the world a different way. We all have an expiration date, right? But none of you, thankfully, probably know what that is. You don't want to know what that is. But when you realize it exists, we all think we're immortal. We do. I mean, who in the room is thinking about dying? Thankfully, probably no one. You should never live your life thinking about dying. But when something like that happens to you, it really opens your eyes. And you start to see things different. You do, it changed everything. And I'm telling you, this place is worth saving. I know we're in a really dark time right now. I know it. I get it. We are. I know we're in a dark time. But there are people in this room. I'm looking at these faces right now, and I can guarantee you, there are probably hundreds of people in this room who were police officers, military, who, I mean literally, not figuratively, put their asses on the line to hand their kids and grandkids the country that was given them, but even better, we got an upgrade. Nothing upgrades. Entropy and disorder, you leave a bush to grow, it grows chaotically, it never grows in order. Nothing in nature, nothing grows in an orderly fashion except the United States, which despite all of the idiots in the White House and all of the morons in Washington, D.C., it still gets better. How is that? Nothing in nature gets better. You read the book, The Road Less Traveled, he makes a whole point, a whole chapter on that. how everything in the world is characterized by growing disorder except this place. You telling me you can't tell me now that that's not evidence that the hand of God has touched this place on the right hand. So I'll leave you with this last thought. We all have our own personal obstacles, but the greatest country in the history of planet Earth, touched by the hand of God, has its obstacles too. God has a way of putting a price on things. Nothing's going to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. If it was easy, every country would be the United States. But it's not. There's only one. There's only us. There's only ever been us. There's never been anything like this, and there never will be anything like this again. It's worth saving. Don't be depressed. Leave tonight knowing you got elections and a country ahead of you. You have to hand to your kids, and that you'll walk up to the pearly gates with a resume in front of the Almighty and say, I did my best to save what you gave us. Thanks for your time. Thank you so much. Save this place. God bless America and everyone who defends